All righty, folks. Well, welcome to our neighborhood meeting. My name is Kyle Packer, and I'm a planner with the town of Oro Valley. Thanks you for joining us tonight for our neighborhood meeting. This is one of the steps of the public outreach process. Tonight's meeting is for a proposed zoning amendment to enable the standard minimum lot size for an area zoned R1 144. The purpose of this case is to potentially amend this area's zoning by removing a condition limiting the minimum lot size in the area to 180,000 square feet and allowing the standard R1 144 minimum lot size of 144,000 square feet to take effect. A 144,000 square foot minimum lot size is the standard applied to all other R1 144 properties in Oro Valley. This is to solve a longstanding issue in the area and is a town-led process to apply a remedy. First for tonight, I'll provide information on the public participation process and then give a background and overview of the project. After staff's presentation, it'll be your turn. Please ask any questions you have for me regarding the proposed amendment. Following your input, I'll provide more information about the next steps for the project, and then conclude by sharing more about the upcoming opportunities for public participation. Our goal for tonight is to hear from you while ensuring a fair and productive meeting. I'll provide more information about how Zoom works and how to participate when the opportunity for public comment opens. If you're having any technical issues with Zoom, please contact Malini Sims at 520-229-4836 to seek assistance. If you're accessing by phone, you may need the passcode 694838 shown at the bottom right. Tonight's meeting is scheduled to go no later than 7:30 p.m. I'd like to note that this Zoom meeting video and the PowerPoint presentation will be posted on this project's webpage as soon as possible. We found that Zoom may take a day or two to process the recording. However, we will post it immediately once we receive it. Comments will also be posted online, and the town council will consider the application. They will have that comment as well. So where are we in the process? This zoning amendment is staff initiated and led, and staff have prepared the necessary materials for review and consideration by the affected property owners, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Town Council. After publishing an informational video online September 27th, accessible at ovprojects.com, we're now at the first neighborhood meeting. It's important to hear your comments and questions. After tonight's meeting, staff expect to proceed to a public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The area affected by this zoning condition includes all parcels within the blue highlight. They are directly south and west of Tortolita Mountain Circle and north and west of Rancho Vistoso Boulevard. The area shown here was annexed by the town of Oro Valley in 2004. This began a common and required process known as translational zoning, where the closest equivalent zoning from the annexing jurisdiction, in this case, Oro Valley, is applied to property based on the zoning from the previously overseeing jurisdiction, which was Pima County. In this case, the properties were all formerly zoned Pima County Rural Homestead. They were translationally zoned to Town of Oro Valley R1 144, which is the town's closest equivalent standards to Pima County Rural Homestead. However, the minimum lot size for Rural Homestead was retained, which is unusual and not standard practice in applying new R1 144 zoning. This action created unintentional consequences. Some lots immediately became legal non-conforming, and other lots were subsequently divided using the normal 144,000 square foot lot standard. If a lot is approved at the standard lot size for R1 144, it becomes non-compliant with this condition and can be difficult to legally develop. This table summarizes some of the differences between Pima County's rural homestead zoning, standard Town of Oro Valley R1 144 zoning, and the zoning applied to properties within this annexation, R1 144 with conditions. A minimum lot size is the smallest a lot in a zoned area is allowed to be. This is a primary way of enforcing housing density. If someone creates a lot smaller than the minimum lot size, there are many cases where it cannot be developed. The standard process for a translational zoning is a straight switch from one zoning to another. However, with this translational zoning case, a zoning condition was applied to require a minimum lot size of 180,000 square feet, equivalent to the prior Pima County zoning minimum lot size. A condition such as this is not required or recommended within the standard translational zoning process, and I'll share more on why in the next slide. Without awareness of this unusual and unnecessary use of a county minimum lot size, both Pima County and the town of Oro Valley have approved lot splits below the 180,000 square foot minimum lot size over the past 18 years, instead applying the standard R1 144 minimum lot size of 144,000 square feet. The properties where this has occurred are highlighted in orange. Because their lot sizes are below the minimum per this zoning condition, these properties may have difficulty obtaining zoning approval and building permits until this issue is resolved, which is why staff is working diligently to resolve the issue. To resolve this issue quickly and fairly, town staff are recommending removing the condition requiring 180,000 square foot minimum lot size from the entire area. This will apply the same standard minimum lot size for all R1 144 properties and solve current issues while preventing similar issues from occurring in the future. Please note, this proposal will also allow properties within this area to subdivide into parcels a minimum of 144,000 square feet in size, instead of the currently required 180,000 square feet, resulting in more density than currently allowed, yet still within the town's general plan definition of rural low density residential. This process to remove the condition is town staff's effort to create a parity of rights for these properties and bring the annexation area into the same zoning standards applied to all other R1 144 properties in the town of Oro Valley. Before we get started with your questions, I'd like to explain how to participate. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function in Zoom. There are two ways to do this. For those of you calling in by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. Please note you may need to unmute yourself by pressing *6 and use the passcode 694838. For those participating on the Zoom app or website, click on the participants icon to open a dialog box, and you should find the option to raise your hand at the bottom as shown in the slide. Alternatively, you may need to click the More icon if it's available. You should see a button labeled Reactions. By clicking this, you'll see the option to raise your hand. Raised hands are moved to the top of the list in the order in which they were raised. Again, if you're having any technical issues with Zoom or have further questions on how to operate it, please contact Melanie Sims at 520-229-4836 to seek assistance. Please make sure you're not muted on your personal device and that your video is not turned off on your personal device by using the microphone and video icons shown on this slide. Please keep your input to no longer than 3 minutes out of fairness to all participants who wish to be heard. I'll respectfully remind folks of this guideline as needed. And with that, let's get started with your questions and comments. Please bear with me as it may take me a moment to unmute folks and move between speakers. And as I don't currently see any hands raised, I'm going to wait a few moments to let folks who want to raise their hands seek assistance with Melanie Sims if they're having trouble, or to navigate to the proper screen to do so. All right, looks like our first speaker is going to be Mark Ellison. So I'll ask you to unmute. All right, Mark, would you like your video turned on?
Yeah.
Perfect, there you go.
I'm somewhat curious about what the process was for outreach to the affected property owners, because this whole thing has blindsided me.
Oh, absolutely.
I got third-hand a copy of the postcard, but if it hadn't been for a very, very strange sequence of events, I never would have known.
Absolutely, I can give you more information about that process. So we posted an informational video on, I believe, September 27th online, and we sent postcards out to both the affected property owners that were within that blue highlight, as well as within the standard notification distance of that area, which I believe is about 600 feet outside of the buffer of that area. And additionally, the property owners that were affected, as in, once again, in that blue highlighted area specifically, were also mailed an additional letter informing them of the process and inviting them to reach out and let us know whether they were in support of this proposal.
As an affected property owner, I never received either.
Okay, well then you should absolutely reach
And
out to me. Oh, go ahead.
It's biasing me to say an emphatic no, just because of the way it's been handled.
I'm sorry, you cut out there just a little bit with your audio. Would you like to restate that?
It is biasing me to an emphatic no, because it seems to be going on behind my back.
Alrighty, we use the address, apologies for my screen here, it's going dark. We did use the addresses that were provided through the Pima County Assessor's Office. So in many cases, those may be incorrect here. By all means, I invite you to reach out to me at kpacker@orovalleyaz.gov, and we'll get your correct address on file so that moving forward, you can be notified at the best address available.
You have my correct address from our previous conversations regarding the subdivision next to my lot.
Okay, and we'll I'll look that up again for you and use that address going forward. This was just done with the standard notification process that we have.
Okay.
Alrighty, do you have any further questions or comments at this time?
Nothing, because like I said, I've been blindsided by this.
Alrighty, absolutely. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. Obviously, again, in this meeting, but then as well outside of this as well. So you're welcome to send us anything you need or any questions you have. Again, we are very early in this process, so we'll have additional opportunities for you to provide comment at both Planning and Zoning Commission meetings as well as Town Council meetings. All right, I'm going to lower your hand, Mark, just to see if there are any other folks that have questions. Feel free to raise your hand again if you think of another question or a comment. All right, I don't see any hands at this moment, so I'd like to again invite folks who would like to raise their hand to do so on their phones by pressing *9 or by reaching out online by clicking the participants icon where you should find the option to raise your hand, or by going into the more options, clicking reactions and finding the option to raise your hand. And if you have any technical questions about Zoom, please feel free to reach out to Nalini Sims at 520-229-4836. All right, I'm going to ask Mark to unmute once more.
Since there weren't any other questions, I'll ask one that I did have. Is you had one slide that was summarizing the differences between the various interpretations of the zoning. Is this an exhaustive list of the differences? Are there other differences that are being applied as we go between these different combinations? For example, different floor area ratios, any of those kinds of things?
That's an excellent question. So the only difference between this Oro Valley R144 that's in this area and standard R1 144 zoning is this minimum lot size. Other than that, they are identical zonings. That's why we're here tonight, is really seeking to just bring these parcels into conformity with all other R144 parcels across the town of Oro Valley.
Okay, is it? I mean, I have a permit in process. I need to have to go back through another review as a result of a change to the zoning.
So, pardon me, I'm still having a little trouble with your audio, but this, if you're currently seeking permits or any other form of zoning or permitting approval, this application that we're proposing would not negatively impact any existing or currently sought permits. It's going to simply allow those parcels that are already below that 180,000 square foot minimum to come back into conformance with town code, so that if those folks want to perform permitted work on their parcels, that they can do so.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to lower your hand and we'll wait a few more moments to see if anyone else has any questions or comments. All right, seeing and hearing none, I will go ahead and conclude with the next steps of the process. So as I said, after tonight's neighborhood meeting, the next step of this zoning amendment is most likely consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission at a public hearing. They'll provide a formal recommendation to town council, who will consider the application at a public hearing for a final decision. Those of you within the affected area have received a letter requesting a response. Please remember, staff are requesting it be returned or postmarked no later than this Friday, October 15th. If you have any questions or comments about this process, would like to submit your response electronically, or have any other concerns or haven't received those materials, please reach out to me at kpacker@orovalleyaz.gov and I'll be happy to assist you. To summarize, staff are proposing the removal of the condition requiring the minimum lot size be 180,000 square feet. This will enable these properties the same development rights as all other properties zoned R1 144 in Oro Valley. Thank you for your participation in establishing a remedy to this issue. In conclusion, we'll continue to notify property owners who received a yellow postcard for this informational video, as well as this neighborhood meeting. If you did not receive a postcard for either and would like to be notified of future meetings, please email me directly at kpacker@orovalleyaz.gov and provide your name and address, and I'll ensure you're notified for upcoming meetings. You can stay up to date on this project by checking ovprojects.com under the case number shown on this slide. Thank you for joining us tonight, and be sure to join us for the upcoming Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing on November 2nd. Thank you and have a great evening.